You stack everything on your side from the start. You make no promises, and if it doesn't work, you can just say it's the person's fault for not. Either it's a bad day, or the spirits have left you, or the person's blocking the energy. There was one discussion I had when we filmed something along these lines that we didn't end up using because they were just so terrible. Was a discussion between a guy who was just our control subject, so he was neither being difficult or just being honest, and a psychic who said to him, "Now I'm sensing you either live on your own or you live with other people." And he said his response was, "I don't know, can you be a little bit more specific?" So she reiterated, "Well, it's either on your own or with a group of people." And again he said, "Well, I'm really not sure what you mean, can you be more specific?" At which point the instructor intervened quite chippily and said, "Look, you either live on your own with other people, which is it?" And he said, "Well, I don't know how to live with my family. I'm not sure what that means." She said, "Well, then you live with other people. Don't block the energy." And was quite livid with him. I can't remember your question, but I just thought that was funny.
It's very funny, yes.
If you ask about the growth of irrationality, why people want to be hoodwinked.
Do you think there's...
Sorry, just one second.
Just a minute, Richard.
Okay.
I'm always very bad at sort of gauging the zeitgeist, but do you feel that there's any kind of growth in gullibility and in exploitation of gullibility going on at the moment?
I think the psychic industry has been around for so long. It's by no means is it a modern phenomenon.
Very big in the 19th century.
Huge in the 19th century,
yes.
But in its way, always sort of been around. Always been around. And the spiritualists of the 19th century that were making tables rise in the air and tambourines bash around in the dark are now, because since infrared photography was invented and they were caught out by photographs in the dark, now they've turned into the modern day spiritualists who just talk, and it's a lot more difficult to disprove. So it's been around for a long time in different guises. But, we live in an age where less people are going to church, and there's a suspicion of science, I think, through the relativist agenda that we've been through of all truth is equal, and nothing's really true, and that my truth is the same as your truth, and it just comes from my culture and my values, and that's all there is. And if you buy into that, then the scientific model is just one model, which is no more or less valid than the New Age model or whatever. And that way of thinking throws all rational discussion out the window, and all possibility of the importance of evidence and the importance of discussing these things as adults out the window. And you're sort of left with a culture where everything's as valid as everything else. So of course that's going to perpetuate an acceptance of alternative medicines, obviously, which are huge now, and belief in these psychics and charlatans, and that industry as well, of people that realise it's a fairly easy job to get up on stage or sit one-on-one with somebody in their front room and charge whatever to trample over your memories of a child that you've just lost. I mean, it's
Yes.
revolting.
I'm slightly surprised that the academic sort of Sude's cornery of cultural relativism and things, which is big in academic departments in universities, has actually trickled down to that extent into the sort of mass audiences that are fooled by these fakes. I mean, it sounds as though that has been a trickle-down effect, but perhaps they're not aware of it or something like that.
I think, it feels unfashionable to talk to people about the importance of evidence, of testing things, even just in a little way. A friend of mine who's a psychic told me about, she puts crystals in her plants and they grow better. And I said, well, you've got loads of plants. Have you ever put two in the same window and watered them the same? Maybe just put crystals in one and not the other. And I did that, and I don't think that's being, nasty or rude. It's just kind of curiosity, isn't it? And but that was being very...
Did you take offence at that?
A little. I was being Western.
Yes. I mean, I've actually noticed that people have taken offence when I've made the very gentlest and mildest suggestion of something just beginning to approach a sort of test.
Yeah, it's curiosity, really, isn't it? But I suppose one person's curiosity is another one's, is offending somebody else. But I think, yes, there is... The trickle-down effect is interesting. I think it's always been there, but I think there is... I think with the TV as well, it's become a big thing on TV, and with the amount of TV psychics and mediums we've had, that's brought up a whole load of career mediums and psychics that now can easily get a spot on TV, or cheaper to hire or cheaper to go to than the really famous ones, and it's just become an industry that we're more aware of now.
Do you blame television whatever they call them, commissioning editors and people like that for pandering to this sort of thing. I mean, going after ratings by giving airtime to what they must know are fakes and charlatans.
I think you can't. I mean, it's the same problem with newspapers printing.
Horoscopes, say.
Horoscope, sort of scaremongering stories about MMR vaccine or things that aren't. They're not really giving the facts because sensationalist stuff sells papers, and it's obviously the same with TV. But someone I know spoke to me after a show that I did, and there's a famous TV medium psychic show where a guy goes around and visits haunted places and is able to talk about and channel various spirits that are there. And it's a very entertaining, very, very popular program. And normally they often go to pubs and hotels and places like that that are supposedly haunted. And this one pub had a story of a murder and a ghost that was behind it. And everybody knew it. Everyone in the town knew it. It was famous for it. And the film crew came to that town to investigate it and to do a piece on it.
Don't tell me they staged it.
No, but they asked around. So
Yes.
they asked around. So the production crew all knew about the story. So for the medium to find out about it was no challenge at all. I mean, the fact that he could come up with the details of a murder and a ghost was no challenge at all because he would have known that anybody could have told him because it was general knowledge, popular knowledge in the area. So he goes on the show and he channels these spirits and talks about the murder and comes out with all these details, and it might look impressive if you didn't realise that he had access to that information. But what this person told me, when he spoke to me after the show, was that the pub owner had made up the story about the murder and the ghost just to create a bit of colour around the pub, and so he wasn't impressed at all. And you can't help but think, those people making that show, they know it's rubbish.
They know, yes.
But it's a popular show, so
Yes. And they would defend it by saying, it's good for ratings, people enjoy it, don't be so
exactly
po-faced. Just
Exactly.
enjoy it. It's just a laugh. That's what they would say.
Exactly. And then you speak to people, on the other hand, who really, on the basis of programs like that and other stuff that happens to them in everyday life, like the phone ringing and someone they've been thinking of, really base their beliefs. They change their life. They live their lives according to these messages that programs like that and things like that give out. So I think there's a responsibility that's ignored, but I don't know how on earth you police that.
I have seen television alleged documentaries in which they're talking about ghost stories, and they'll get somebody to tell a ghost. I mean, everybody's got a ghost story which they heard somebody else tell, which perhaps they believe. But where the television people did something I think really quite wrong was they staged it. So instead of just allowing the person to tell the story,
Right.
they actually got actors to
Recreate it,
to create the story, and they didn't claim that it was they were really filming it. They admitted that it was actors, but nevertheless, the fact that it was, and the fact that they had mist all over the place and a spooky atmosphere, would have given far more vividness to the alleged story. I forget whether it was a ghost story or some uncanny coincidence or whatever it was, but I know what it was. I think it was people claiming to meet each other in dreams when they were asleep.
Right.
And so the three men went to sleep, having agreed to meet in a certain place. And the television company actually staged a meeting with sort of mist swirling around and things. And then they said, well, of course, this didn't actually happen, but nevertheless,
We put the idea in
they
your head.
put the idea into your head.
And that I think taps into, by making it visual and give it, that's part of the problem, part of the reason I think why these things are so appealing and why it's much easier to believe in a psychic or a spiritualist, because what they're saying they're doing is quite easy for us to sort of grasp. We can make simple images, vivid images in our minds of what that involves, or what a ghost is, or what a psychic piece of a psychic phenomenon is. It's much easier for us to visualize that and see that than the more complicated and interesting reasons behind it. And unavoidably, because who we are as people and the way we like to form patterns quickly, and we need to in order to move on and have those patterns as part of what we understand about how the world works. We fall for it, and we fall for it because it's easy and appealing, and it's a very difficult thing to get round, because you can explain, but those explanations are less appealing to the mind. They don't create vivid, colourful pictures and then